Once upon a time, there lived a prince called Prince Emeka of the Akuku village. Prince Emeka was very wealthy. He was the next heir apparent. He had everything he wanted in the world. However, he was yet to get married. Prince Emeka was a very humble and kind person. So he wanted someone that was humble and kind as he was. He didn't want someone who would marry him because of his wealth. But that was very difficult because everyone knew him as the prince. So instead of having the traditional ball of inviting all the young maidens to come to the palace, he told his parents that he wanted to go into the village and visit the houses of the noblemen in the kingdom. There, he would pick a woman to marry. His parents were hesitant, but they agreed. So Emeka took turns going to each noble home, acting like a beggar, a gardener, or an orphan, someone who needed help or assistance. Finally, he came upon the house of Maazi Njoku. Njoku had a daughter called Urena. Urena lived with her cousin, Chica, because Chica's parents had died. So her father and mother had taken Chica in. So both of them grew up as sisters. They were very close. Now Prince Emeka came to the house as a gardener. He begged for work. He looked tattered and hungry. So Urena's father took pity on him and gave him a job. Immediately, Prince Emeka noticed that the family was kind. They treated all their workers with respect and dignity. They gave them food to eat, and those who wanted to sleep in the compound, they gave them a bed. They paid them well. As such, the workers worked very hard. Now, as Prince Emeka was doing his usual work as a gardener, Urena came upon him one day. And he stopped her and asked her, "What is your name?" And she told him. They talked pleasantly for a while before she stepped away. Then one of the workers came up to Prince Emeka. "What are you doing? Why are you talking to the Oga's daughter like that?" Here, no one knew he was a prince, so they just called him Emeka, the gardener. "Don't you know that that is Urena, the Oga's daughter?" Then Prince Emeka began to realize who he had talked to. He didn't know at first, but now he understood. Urena's father was one of the wealthiest men in the kingdom. Theirs was a noble family, which meant Urena was of noble birth and was very wealthy. Yet, you wouldn't know it if no one had told you, because she was very kind and very humble. And from that moment on, Prince Emeka loved Urena because she was very humble, kind, and caring to everyone around her. There was, however, a problem. The name of the problem was Chica. Chica was the opposite of her cousin. She wanted everyone to know that she was from a wealthy home, and that although her parents were late, Urena's father was her father, and so therefore she had a share in his wealth. She told anyone who cared to listen. She was very rude to the workers and always treated them badly. She was very different from Urena. One day, Urena and Chica were talking outside under the shade. Emeka was not far off, he was gardening. Chica then said, "Have you heard what the prince has done?" "What do you mean?" Urena asked her. "Instead of him to have the traditional ball and inviting all the young maidens, they said he had decided to travel out of the kingdom in search of a bride." Chica, that is his choice. If he wants to go in search of a bride, maybe he knows what he's looking for. What could he possibly be looking for? All the girls in Akuku village are beautiful, and we that are from the noble families are also beautiful. He should have picked from one of us. I know definitely he will have picked me because I am the most beautiful. Urena laughed. "I believe you, Chica. He would have picked you. However, he's not here to pick you. Now let's go in and help Mama. As they stood up, Chica tripped on one of the equipment that Emeka had left on the ground. Then she shouted at him, "What is wrong with you, you stupid man? Can't you see where you're placing your equipment?" Now I almost fell down and hurt my leg. "Ah, Chica, it's okay, don't shout. You're fine, nothing has happened. Don't shout at him like that." Emeka's head was bent down and he kept saying, "I'm sorry, ma. I didn't mean to hurt you." "My friend, be sorry for yourself," Chica shouted, and she walked off. Then Urena turned and told Emeka, "I'm so sorry for my cousin. Please, next time be careful with this equipment." "Yes, ma," he said. "It won't happen again," Emeka said. And then Urena left. Now, having decided who he was going to marry, the prince decided to go back to the palace. And then he told his parents. His parents were happy that he had picked Urena. Urena was from a good background, and her parents were good people. So, as tradition, the king sent for Urena's family, and they came to the palace. And there, the king told them that the prince had decided to marry Urena. Her parents were so happy. Urena was shocked. She had never seen the prince before. So how did he see her? And then, as she thought that, the prince came out. And behold, they were all shocked. The man they thought was their gardener was actually Prince Emeka. Chika was the one that was most shocked out of all because she had said terrible things to him. Now, on the day of the wedding, while others were celebrating, getting ready, Chika came up to her cousin and gave her a bracelet and told her that it was a gift. Urena was so happy. She wore the bracelet. Once married, Urena was moved to the palace to live with Emeka. Emeka and Urena were very happy. Now, on their wedding night, Urena was prepared and left in the room, and Prince Emeka was to meet her there. When Prince Emeka entered her room, Urena was not there. He was surprised, so he began to go around looking for Urena. He went searching for her in different quarters and he was surprised. How far could she have gone? This was the wedding night. Where could she be? He got to a turn and turned left, and there he saw Urena in the arms of one of the guests that had come for the wedding. Prince Emeka was furious. He shouted, "What is the meaning of this, Urena?" Urena stopped as if she was just seeing him now. Then she began to cry. "I don't know how I got here," she said. "I don't know what happened." "What do you mean you don't know what happened?" Then the man was quickly arrested and put in the dungeon. The man explained that he was on his own and Urena came up to him and kissed him. He had never kissed such a beautiful woman before, so he didn't stop her. The prince was very angry. His parents were very upset. "I thought you said this girl was a good girl. What is the meaning of this?" Emeka himself was very shocked. Throughout his stay in Urena's house, he had never seen her behave this way. Something was wrong. Urena was crying and crying. Because of tradition, she was sent back to her parents' house that night. It was a serious abomination. Someone who was just celebrating during the day, and instead of her to enjoy her wedding night, she was now banished from the palace. But the prince went to Urena's house and brought her back. He loved her so much, he couldn't believe that she would do this. While Urena was happy, everyone thought the prince was mad. "You saw her red-handed, kissing someone else. So what are you doing?" But the prince believed that something was wrong. Urena didn't want to come back. She was ashamed. She told the prince she didn't know what happened. She cannot explain it. One minute she was in her room, and the next she began to walk, and she did not know where she was going to. The next thing she knows, the prince called out to her. The prince told her not to worry, that he knows her character, and he knows that something is wrong. The problem is he didn't know what it was. Now, Urena was brought back to the palace. Because of what had happened, they could not consummate the marriage. However, Urena stayed in her room. Prince Emeka assigned his trusted guards to watch her. One night, Urena stood up. She moved around as if in a trance, and then she came upon another man and began to kiss him. The royal guards pulled her away and took her back to her room. The chief royal guard reported this to the prince, telling him that it was as if Urena was in a trance. They called out to her, but she didn't listen. All her mind was to get to someone to kiss. Then the prince called the Ezemo and told the Ezemo as it had happened. The Ezemo then said if she was in a trance, it means someone is in control of her body. The problem is, what is it that is controlling her? Or more importantly, who is controlling her? So the prince then asked the Ezemo to come into Urena's room and inspect the room. Maybe he will find something. So the Ezemo agreed and he came to her room. He checked and checked, but he didn't see anything. Urena was standing by the corner crying. She was told that she had kissed another man again. She couldn't even remember when she did that. The Ezemo went to her to comfort her. My daughter, it's okay. We will find what is happening. It was at that moment that he began to feel a strange power around her. Then he looked on her body and he saw the bracelet. Who gave you this bracelet? He asked her. Urena said it was her cousin, Chica. Take off the bracelet. But Urena said she couldn't take off the bracelet. Since Chica gave it to her, since that day she had never taken it off. It was hard to take off, but she didn't mind. She would wear it for the rest of her life. She loved her cousin. No, no, no. You have to take it off, otherwise you will die. Everyone was surprised. What do you mean, Ezemo? The prince asked him. The Ezemo explained that this bracelet was charmed, and it was probably what was controlling Urena. Urena has to break off this bracelet. Now, Urena began to pull at the bracelet. She couldn't believe that her cousin would give her a poison bracelet. But more importantly, the bracelet wasn't coming off. At first, she didn't bother about it. Maybe the bracelet was broken. She didn't care. But after hearing what the Ezemo said, she was scared. She tried all she could, but the bracelet couldn't come off. What is going on? What is this? The prince also tugged at the bracelet, but it wasn't coming off. Then the Ezemo began to pace back and forth. Something was wrong. How can one open this bracelet? He was thinking. Then he turned to the prince and told the prince that he should declare his love to Urena. As he's doing that, he should try and open the bracelet. Then the prince began to explain to Urena that he loved her. No matter what happens, he will always be beside her. As he spoke, he pulled on the bracelet and the bracelet released and opened. Urena was so happy she began to cry. The Ezema explained that Chica, in placing that bracelet, believed that the prince would not love Urena enough to fight over the charm of the bracelet. Now, give me the bracelet, the Ezema said. The prince handed the bracelet over to him, and the Ezema threw it in the fire. The bracelet melted and disappeared. That night, the prince ordered his royal guards to go and get Chica. Chica had to confess to the crime she had committed. But unfortunately, when the guards got there, Chica had died. Urena's parents explained that from nowhere, Chica began to scream. It was as if she was on fire. She was crying for help, begging for forgiveness, saying strange things like she did not mean to harm Urena. But they did not believe her. She would never harm Urena. But before the herbalist could come, Chica had died. So the royal guards explained what had happened to Urena's parents, and they were shocked. The prince was informed that Chica had died. Urena was also informed, but Urena cried. She cried because she did not know that her cousin would hate her or be jealous of her so much. She had grown up with Chica. She had loved her from when they were small. Why would she go this far? Because of the crime Chika had committed, her body couldn't be buried. Her body was then thrown into the evil forest.